one I wanted to show in the pressing department was that inside shoulder press with a hook, okay? And I've showed this one before when we were doing hooking, okay? But I want to show it again because technically it is a press, okay? So Kep and I are here. Most of the pressing we did, the regular shoulder press, right? We pressed with a straight wrist. That was it, okay? That was the difference. Now, what we're trying to do is get a hook wrist position as step one, okay? So we're gonna come up really high, same idea. You're still cutting an angle, okay? Same idea. You're up really, really, really high. The best guys at this get as close as they can as to their hand, as the ref's gonna let them get, because they're gonna try to get them behind their hand immediately, okay? So on the go, they would be in essentially the same hook position, except they could come up a little bit higher because what they're trying to do is get that hook first. So they're going to probably pick a grip that's going to be best for just getting a hook. Because once you're there, you can press from there. Okay, so you're going to get the hook first. So on 1, 2, 3, go. You're trying to hook. Well, like I said, you're bringing that shoulder in as close as possible anyway. So once you get the go, you try to force your body behind your hand, kind of in a shoulder block position. Okay, and then you're going to press this way, but you're also going to leave room on the pad. You're going to start up in the upper right-hand corner and drive your elbow at the same time as you're pressing down. Okay, so that's attacking his bicep and his wrist much more, because as you're turning in this way, and then you're almost, say now my attack's suddenly going this way. Okay, so it's just totally, I'm pressing straight away with a lot of power. That's putting a lot of stress against his rotation. Okay, against the rotation of his hand, okay, and against his bicep as well. So I'm going to show that from the other side. Okay, so inside shoulder press with the hook variation from the other side. Okay, so the same idea of setting up an angle. What I mentioned about the elbow position on here is you want to have it, your drive is going to be this way. It's going to actually be from here to here, because you're actually driving the guy this way. So you don't need to leave a lot of pad room at the front necessarily. You actually want to get your arm right up to the front. You want to get your hook. You got to be strong in the wrist to do this position, because you're not doing any tricks to get that hook position. Okay, but as you'll see here, we're going to set up. I put my hand at the front, and then I'm putting it towards the right corner a little more, not necessarily all the way, but close, about 3/4 of the way. Those are things to remember. I'm getting a position where I'm going to be able to hook. So low thumb, high angle. Okay. That's where you want to be. And then standing up tall as possible, getting as close as possible, and then get as close as the ref's going to let you get, basically. Okay, because it might be pretty close. Okay, you're getting up really close, and then on the go, it would be 1, 2, 3, go. You're just doing everything you can. You're turning your body, so you're getting a twisting torque on the wrist, okay? And then you're just turning as hard as you can. You're trying to get this hook, okay? And then you're just following that up. So as you twist, you're bringing your body in behind, okay, and then you're driving towards the pad, drive, press, combination of moves. Okay, so now we're going to do the dead wrist press. Okay, remember the difference. We've done 2 presses so far. The first being that the straight press, which is exactly that, straight wrist press. We're pushing straight, okay, without the wrist being manipulated at all. Okay, the second one was a hook. We're hooking and then pressing. Okay, so this time we're going to do the opposite. We're going to let the wrist flop back. Okay, we're letting everything go. So this is an interesting move, because what we're doing, Kep and I almost do it without the straps. I was going to say the straps make this move much more effective, especially as an offensive weapon, but absolutely as a defensive weapon. Okay, and I'm going to go into depth on that. So if you start getting into being able to do dead wrist movements, and that's a very personal thing. You'll see what I mean when you go to try doing that. Okay, it's not as easy as it looks, but if your arm works with those mechanics and you can grasp that, it can be a very deadly weapon in arm wrestling, because everything people are trying to manipulate. Kep and I'll show you here. So most people, let's say they were doing a Toproll movement, okay, and I was a dead wrist presser, okay, or I'll put it this way, I was going to do a dead wrist press, okay. Interestingly enough, as he comes over my hand and he starts to rotate out this way, he can keep all of that, okay? And I'm just going to let him have it. So in a dead wrist type position, what you're doing is you're actually giving up your wrist and your hand and your fingers, okay, in order to put pressure down onto his hand, kind of down into the lower part of his hand. So from there, you would, same as the rules with the other presses, you got to get behind your arm, okay, and then you would kind of same thing. You're going to combine pressing on the pad. You can press, driving on the pad at the same time as a little bit of downward pressure, with the fingers. But as I mentioned, it's much more effective in the strap. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do. I'm going to do the dead wrist press from the other side. Okay, and then we're going to do the strap on this side, and we'll do both sides with the strap, and that'll make it really clear. Okay. So dead wrist press from the other side. Okay, so we're doing the same thing. Remember that a dead wrist press without the strap, as you know, I've already mentioned it, as an offensive weapon, and not what I would suggest. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. I would just say it wouldn't be my first tool to use as an offensive weapon. Okay. For the setup, it's the same. You're kind of setting up, cutting a little bit of an angle. Okay, so on go, regardless of what he was going to do, on go, let's say he went over the top like a normal Toproll would, okay, and you're getting in behind your hand, okay, from there, you're pressing, driving with the elbow. Remember, just like the others, you're driving with the elbow. You're not trying to just like force the guy's arm down, okay? You're getting in behind your arm. You're pressing, rotating down. Okay, if you can't get the guy down here, okay, you can also drag back towards the center, okay, and bring the person's hand down there. Okay, so now, as you can see, we have the strap now. So as I mentioned, the dead wrist press as an offensive weapon, as any kind of a weapon, is much more effective with the strap, okay? Extremely effective. You can absolutely use it as a weapon, okay? So since we're in the strap here, as you can see, he can't get away from me now, okay? So generally, if you're flop wrist or dead wrist pressing without the strap, oftentimes he comes over the top, you come in, and the hand just goes over it and it gets away from you, okay? So with the dead wrist press here as an offensive weapon now, we would do the same thing. We cut a little bit of an angle. We're going to give the wrist up, but you don't want to give any indication that that's what you're going to do, okay? And if that's the only move you have, it's going to be very counterable, okay? But you have other moves around it, like if you have a good Toproll move, or if you have a good hook, okay, and the guy doesn't know what you're going to do, okay? And on your attack, let's say he was just kind of coming outside with some kind of an outside move. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, that's almost no effort on my part. Suddenly I have him in a really bad position, okay? With the strap, I can generate pressure, sweeping pressure down underneath the hand too. So here, I can not only press in, but I can also drive back. And you can see the hand will come right down, driving back with the elbow. So pressing and dragging has a big effect in the strap here. So I'll show you what I mean. So as Kev is here, regardless of what, if we're hooked in, I will say this, if we're hooked in, okay, it's very difficult to utilize the strap, because you can, his hand's there, okay, but anything other than that, so if our wrists are straight, especially if the wrist is bent, okay, in a dead wrist position, you have a lot of control because of this connection here. We're connected wrist to wrist, so his wrist is connected to my wrist regardless of what's happening with my fingers, okay? So as he pulls over, let's say he's doing a classic Toproll, which would be exactly what anybody would do if I grabbed a low grip on here. He's got a really high grip. Anybody, including anybody's natural inclination would be to come over the top of the hand, okay? And interestingly enough, with a dead wrist press, you want your opponent to come over the top of your hand because you're attacking the bottom kind of down onto their wrist. So I'll show you what basically happens. And then I'm going to show you some of the different maneuvers you could do within the strap in the same exact position without the hand, basically fighting without the hand. So, okay, we start the match. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, Kepa's he goes over, but I'm staying close to my arm, okay? I can't let him get way out here or else that's really bad, okay? But if I'm close, okay, I can start exerting some pressure here. So ideally, I'd want to get for a press with the strap, offensively, I'll show you defensively now. Offensively, I'd want to get right behind my hand before I really pressed with it, okay? But there's other things you can do, and that's what I wanted to show. So we're pulled back this way, okay? We're holding. Now, we can also press in from here. If we have some room on the pad, we can press in, Okay, and that can help you change positions within the strap, okay, or positions within the hand, okay. So he's got my arm bent back here. That doesn't mean I still can't press right towards him, okay. And then suddenly you can get the room to come behind your arm, okay. So if he's here, he's pulling me over, okay. I come back, press in, I get a little bit of an angle. I buy myself some breathing space. Now I'm behind my arm, okay. Now I can drive this way, okay, but some of the other techniques you can do, you can combine them, and that's what I really want you to think about with this dead wrist position. Is Kep and I are arm wrestling. He's going to try to bring me to the pad, okay. You can combine movements, okay, pressing with rolling, dragging, rolling, okay, pressing, dragging, rolling, pressing, dragging, rolling, okay, all those motions together, and you can do them at any angle you need to throughout the match. So even if he's got me way down here, okay, and this looks like an impossible position. It's not the best position, believe me, but as he's got me here, the match is not over, okay, because I can get in and exert pressure and get him back across the table, okay, by different means. I can still drag, like I said. So if he's got me way down here, okay, I can come in, I want to stay close to my arm, but I can also drag away and kind of ratchet my way. You can kind of see how I'm doing that, ratchet my way back in. And even little rotations of my hand here, you can feel that, right? As he starts to come over, okay, as he's got my hand, okay, I can still rotate. I can use my hand just by pressing into him, okay, and put pressure against his fingers, okay? I can also bring my hand out kind of into a low hand top roll position very easily from that dead wrist position. So if I'm dead here, I can pretty easily, as he's pulling, okay, once I get back in, I can start to ratchet that hand back, okay, and start to kind of pull with the fat part of my wrist, okay. So let me show you this from the other side. Okay, so dead wrist press with the straps from the other side. As you know, I'm a big proponent of the dead wrist press, but with the straps, it's a game-changing move. It really is. Okay, so we're going to show it from the other side. So as an attack, Kep and I was kind of showing it defensively from the other side. So you know what? Let me kind of show how it looks defensively from this camera angle, and then I'll immediately go into how it's used for an offensive piece. Okay, so we're here. As you know, great as a defensive tool, and it's cool if you practice this move because people are always generally going to, everybody likes to top roll, most people. Some people like to hook, a lot of people like to top roll, okay, and it takes the least energy, so most people are going to try to just come over your hand. So it's a very usable position, okay, if you get good at it, so it's worth practicing, okay, even though I'd be seasoned first. It's not the first move I'd suggest to learn, okay. So as he starts to come over, okay, defensive, okay, you can see what's going on. I'm staying close to my arm, okay, he's going to pull as much force as he wants, okay, and I can pull, I want to stay close, okay, and I can start to put pressure into the hand, come back, okay, and kind of turn it into what I consider an offensive position. So I'm more in a position where I can attack now. So as he's pulling, now depending on what position he's going, right, so as he's pulling back, I'll probably press forward, okay, and then I'll probably press down, kind of in a sweeping motion that way. Would be a good attack for that type of position. Okay, so as I come over this way, he's going to kind of pull up because I'm pulling down on his hand, and from there I can just roll, change levels, drag back, and get a pin from there. So remember, there's all kinds of different moves you can do from this dead wrist press, but that's the gist of it. And then as an offensive weapon, okay, so we're here. As an offensive weapon, remember, any kind of pressing, you need to leave driving room, okay? That goes for any kind of pressing. That goes for the dead wrist press, too. Even though you're dead wrist pressing, it's almost like you're transitioning from a regular press to a dead wrist press in the middle, and you can do that. You can generate more pressure, I think, with a straight wrist and then have it go into a flop. That's a really great combination. So that's what I want you to think about here is, let's say Kep and I, we're going to arm wrestle. He's going to do an outside move, and I want to press him as an offensive weapon, but a flop wrist press, okay? So we might set up here. I want to get a little bit of an angle. I want to put my body in a position where I can drive energy this way towards him, my body weight, my power. If I'm setting up backwards like this, and I'm putting pressure up high, and then on my move I have to come in, I can't do that. It's got to be one or the other. So I got to commit to the position I'm going to drive in, okay? So if I'm going forward, I'm pressing in, I might start with a straight wrist, even if I was going to go to a dead wrist press. Okay, this is really important because if I give away that I'm going to go to a dead wrist press, okay, he can counter that really easily, okay? And so if we're going to start up here, I'm going to give him good pressure up high, okay? I'm going to make it seem like I'm top rolling, okay? Good pressure up high. I don't need to be quite as high as when we were top rolling, but high enough to where I can threaten that move, okay? And then on the go, it would be 1, 2, 3, go, bam. I would get as far as I could go with that, okay? And then as he reacts, he's going to try to pull up over my hand. That's when you can let the flop wrist happen, okay? And that's just a counter. That's a counter to his move this way. Once he takes that, you let him have it. Continue your drive. Continue your drive to the pad, okay? Like I said, you got this pressure, you got dragging pressure, you got rolling pressure, and you can combine them all, okay? If you get pulled back to center, and suddenly the match almost has started over, you can see if you can get your wrist back, okay? And then from there, you can transition to other moves. If your wrist is staying pinned back, it's really not that big of a problem. You can still press in and drag back and rotate over. So you have a lot of moves. Okay, so now we're going to cover some common counters to the press. So if someone's pressing you, what to do about it? Okay. One of the best counters I can show you is going to be kind of a defensive top roll, but I'm going to have to show you what that means. There's lots of different ways of doing defensive top rolls. Okay. So let's say we were without the strap. Okay. Here would be a way of countering a straight press, just like the first one we covered. We're here. So Kepa, he's going to leave some room on his pad, as you can see here. So I don't know what he's going to do, but let's say he starts to drive this way, okay, and press. I'm going to come over into a defensive top roll. So I'm going to try to post my arm, and I'm going to try to come out on top of his hand, okay. So I'll keep my hook in here a little bit, okay, and then just continue to keep him outside of his arm because he can't press. He can't produce any pressing power this way, okay. As long as I keep him outside of my arm. If he can get his arm or his shoulder behind his hand, yeah, then suddenly he could produce a lot more force. So with that counter, it would be, especially if you know the guy's going to press, if you know that's the move, if you know he's coming out this way, if you're going to set up and you know that's what's going to happen, because you can usually tell if the guy is a presser, I'll put it that way, and he sets up way down here, almost for sure he's going to go into some kind of a press. So just kind of study the movement. That'll be much easier to key on. Okay, but if I know Kepa's going to press, I'm going to, as hard as I can, it would be, he's going to go this way, and I'm going to show you the counter. 1, 2, 3, go. And you see what happens is that he'd stay outside of his arm, and I'd continue pulling this way, outside onto his fingers. I keep elevating. I keep trying to rise on his hand. Since he's already exposed kind of by shoulder pressing, if I come this way really fast, I can break his wrist back. That doesn't mean he went into a flop wrist press. I guess technically he did, but it wasn't his choice. Okay, so as he's pressing this way, bam, I pull back hard and continue that pressure. That's going to get his wrist to come back. So it's really out of his hands at that point. At that point, it would just be continued pressure down, rotate, and then get the pin. So I'm going to show you that from the other side. Okay, so just a straight press counter from the other side. So Kepa's going to drive with that straight wrist. He's coming through. He's going to press into me. A great way to counter, even if the guy's pressing right towards your body, you can still swing out of the way and counter with the same move. So it doesn't depend on the angle. We can do a couple different angles. Okay, so we'll do the normal style. He's going to turn his body a little bit. He's going to leave driving room on the pad. He's going to press me, and I'm going to show you the counter. Okay, so I probably get my arm pretty up high because I know I'm going to leave a little bit of room to retreat here. But as he presses 1, 2, 3, go, I'm going to try to pull my arm out, okay, get a little bit of a bow in my wrist, okay, and then if his palm is turned upside down, that's exactly what I want. Doesn't matter what style that is, okay. I would continue pressure back, okay, and I could kind of sit back. So this guy was really strong, and he's putting a lot of pressure in here. What's going to happen almost for sure, I can tell you, and you can probably see it, is we're going to get a slip. Because I'm going to try to pull him down, of course. And he doesn't want that to happen. Okay, and so we get a slip. Yeah, we get a slip. And then we end up probably going to the strap. so another great counter to a press, to a straight press. Okay, it's a low hand top roll. I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, so if Kep and I were here, and we'll just make an example. Okay, so let's just say we were both top rolling. We were both pressing up high to get an advantage. Okay, that's how the match starts. Okay, just for argument's sake, we start that way. Okay, he decides, you know what, this guy's got too much pressure. I'm going to press to break his grip. So he decides to press in. Okay, and what I actually did there, and I'll continue to move, is continue up through his low fingers here, roll through. Okay, and that's actually a low hand top roll. I'm going to show you, like I said, in the outside arm wrestling section, I'm going to show you the low hand top roll as an offensive and a defensive weapon. But here's another introduction to it. You've seen it once already. Okay, and we'll go through the exact same scenario one more time, and then I'll show it kind of as an immediate counter. Okay, so once again, Kep and I we're fighting up high, and this is similar to our hook example that we used, where he tried to hook me, and I low hand top roll before. That was the last time you saw it, so it works equally well. So let's take another example. Okay, we're fighting up high, same thing. Normal, we're pushing. He decides, you know what, I'm going to hook this guy. He starts to hook. Same exact move. Okay, so that's cool. I always try to remember that, is that low hand top roll will get you out of the hook. It'll also get you out of the press. So in this chance, we're doing the press. So we're fighting high. Boom. He decides he's going to press. And I just go right into that low hand top roll. Okay, put my low part of the thumb, or my low part of my wrist into his little fingers, and then continue that pressure back, and rotate, and change levels, and bring them right down. And I'll show you that from the other side. Okay, so low hand top roll as a counter to the press, okay, from the other side. So once again, we're here. Kep and I, here's the scenario. Kep and I are both challenging kind of this high pressure position. We're posting like normal, okay? And we start the match. So we're posting here. We're both pulling up high to get an advantage. He decides he's going to press to break my grip. Okay, and my reaction is to all I'm doing, because all that motion's happening because I'm doing something and he's doing something. He's pressing this way, okay? I'm lifting up so you can see it. I'm lifting up the bottom of my hand, and I'm pulling back this way as he's doing that. So I'll show you one more time. We're going high. He decides to press. I'm lifting up the bottom of my hand, and then I'm continuing the pressure this way, rotating down. Okay, you can add some dragging to that too. If you get yourself in this position, you can drag with your elbow, okay, and pull down. But that's a low hand top roll as a counter to the press.